thank you very much for coming for this session. So this session is about artificial intelligence and precision agriculture. We want to have a conversation about what is going on in the Ghana ecosystem in relation to AI. And so I've already interacted with just one or two people here, and we have people who are really interested and also work in this space. So although we are going to have a panel discussion, there's also going to be an open forum for engagement, question and answers. So you can write down any question or idea, and just in case when you raise your hand or you are asking or giving an input, kindly mention your name, where you work, or the space you are in, just so after the session also we can have some further engagements and collaboration. So I'll just give a brief overview of who is organizing the session and why we are even organizing the session, and then I'll call our resource personnel here, and then we will have a conversation. So once more, my name is Mary Sewa Afram. I work with GIZ's Fair Forward Artificial Intelligence for All projects. So we are a global project, and we say our goal is to democratize artificial intelligence. And we work in three, we call it action areas. So the first part is policy. So currently we support the Ministry of Communications and Digitalization in developing an AI strategy for Ghana. When it comes to capacity building as well, we also engage in some capacity building activities. And then we also promote access to open data, because we believe that open data is the way for local innovators to also get access to data and then build solutions, local relevant solutions. So that's what we do. But in relation to this session, we have another GIZ sister project we are co-organizing with, and that is called MOVE, Market-Oriented Value Chains for Jobs and Growth in the ECOWAS region. And they also support the whole global chain of rice and cashew crops, and in the ECOWAS regions, I think 6 regions as well. So we are happy to be co-organizing this session with them. So enough of talks about me. I'm going to call our resource personnel to come forward, and then we have the conversation, and then we have just a very short time. So just so I don't murder anyone's name, I will pick my book. And first of all, I'll call them, but then I want them to introduce themselves and then tell us a bit about what they do, which space or which perspective they are coming to join the conversation with. So first of all, I'll call Mr. William Delali Ofori from Kara Agro AI. And let's give him a round of applause. Thank you. We also have Dr. Eric Tutu Tacho from the Responsible AI Lab, KNUST. He will tell us more about what the Responsible AI Lab is and what they do there. We also have Mr. Jerry Jacob Anim, who is an Assistant Director of Crop Services at the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. So, some of us have had lunch, so please let's be generous with the with the claps. Thank you. And then also we have Shanik Kwejo Kwao. I can't pronounce the last one. So Shanik will tell us also. He's from Farmerline Group, and he will also tell us more. And you have me as well. So thank you. All right. So I'll start with you since you have the microphone. Please tell us what you do at the ministry. And
thank you very much. Like the moderator mentioned, my name is Jerry Enim. I work with the Ministry of Food and Agriculture with the Directorate of Crop Services. Specifically, I work with the Tree and Industrial Crop Unit. We coordinate all activities related to the tree crops at the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. I'm personally in charge of cashew development at the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. Thank you.
Hi, my name is William Ofori, and I'm with Kara Agro AI. Basically, at Cara Agro AI, we're looking at improving crop yield, giving early warning detection in terms of pests and any other interference that may affect crop yield, as well as trying to maximize harvest. We collect a lot of data, and what we do is to put it into our systems to make meaningful predictions out of it to help with agri development and maximize yield. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Eric Tutu Chow. That's the surname. I'm not a Chinese, though. I'm a senior lecturer in the Department of Computer Engineering. I lecture courses in networking, security, and then Internet of Things. Relative to what I do or what brought me here, I'm the theme lead for agricultural innovation and food security for the Responsible Artificial Intelligence Lab. It's one of 3 multi-million-dollar labs funded by IDRC and GIZ. So where we do interesting works, we collaborate with Cara Agro AI, SESI Technologies, and a lot of companies within the ecosystem. In addition, I double as the scientific director for a distributed IoT lab or a blockchain IoT lab. In there, we offer traceability within the supply chain, right from the production stage till it gets to the fork or it gets to your table to eat. So that is me in a nutshell.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Mary. So my name is Chanik Kwao. I'm with Farmerline. I'm the data analyst with Farmerline. Pretty much, Farmerline, we provide support to farmers in our catchment area, mostly farmers in the north. We give them inputs, help them through all the processes in the agri chain. For example, when they are done, they harvest crops, we buy it from them, we source it from them through our intermediaries. We also give them inputs and then give them education on the best farming practices so that they can maximize yield. And then there are other allied agricultural services we provide. We have agri businesses we work with, input dealers specifically, who are intermediaries that we supply input stuff to farmers through the input dealers. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to stay with you, Shanik. So what do you think about the state of artificial intelligence in the agriculture space in Ghana?
Thank you, Mary. So pretty much the AI has caught up with us in Africa and Ghana. There's no denying the fact that the impact of AI is huge, and it can transform a lot of sectors, especially the agri space. We've seen a lot of agri-tech companies taking up their roles and helping farmers, who are the major stakeholders in the whole agricultural chain. Providing at various layers AI, services that are basically AI, that is helping farmers the outcome. The increasing yield, helping them experience productivity at a level than before. And so in the agri space, we are seeing some form of adoption, but not necessarily like we should expect, as we see in other jurisdictions elsewhere, the way it's picking up. Essentially, I see some opportunities coming. Thank you.
Is Farmerline in particular doing anything AI-related currently?
Yeah, thank you. Yes. Currently, we are doing some carbon stock, above ground carbon stock estimation, and then we are using that. We're also doing some farmer agribusiness matching, which we are also doing. We also train farmers where we are able to deliver agri information to farmers, and then we are also finding a way to personalize the kind of information that goes to the farmers so that it is not just generic, but it's tailored to the needs of the specific farmer. So, for example, if it's a cashew farmer, the agronomic information should be tailored to the needs of that farmer. Yeah, so we are doing and rolling them out. So essentially, we also doing our best there. Thank you.
Thank you. Since you're all coming from quite different backgrounds, I would run this question through just to see if we all feel the same way. So, Dr. Tutu.
Thank you. What I know about farming or agriculture is that it's a decision-making process. At every stage of the cycle, you have to make a decision. And what better tool to help us than AI, which is best at making decisions? Repetitive things that we do repetitively, it learning over time and helping us make the decisions. So my father once told me, he says he's a part-time farmer, right? He says that, is it possible for us to get something, this is about some years ago, develop something that will more or less take the repetitive nature he does his farming, and then he, as a human being, focus on what is really important, right? That was about 10 years ago. I didn't even know about this AI. That's what motivated me into joining this sphere or this ecosystem. I've walked around the booths, I've walked around this place, and it is promising. I've seen a lot of startups doing interesting things, from cultivation to crop disease detection to creating access to markets, and I think the future is good. This is where our lab sees itself or positions itself. You see, we are into talent development, and at all these booths, you see that most of these ecosystem startups or companies that are being developed are by young people. And it gives me joy because as an AI lab, developing talent and then seeing the future effect, what is possible, and the innovation that can come out of it, especially with application areas in agric, is very promising to us. Relative to what we've been doing in the sector, we don't want to be jack of all trades, right? We are an academic or a research lab, so we want to focus on what we are very good at. What we do is knowledge transfer partnership. Collaborate with people who really are doing this work. We've developed apps, plant disease detector, but CarAgro spends a lot of time doing this, so we don't have to compete with them. But when we do the cutting-edge research, how do we transfer it to them so they can improve their processes? That is where our focus really is. And through collaboration with the startup systems and companies, we are seeing a multiplier effect within the ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think, like the first speaker said, this AI is something new in our system here. Even though it is new, from where I stand, I see the prospect, and I see some form of applications already on the ground. For instance, when you come to particularly cashew, where I coordinate, a lot of the research work that are ongoing currently on the field are applying a lot of this AI. That is making the work more easier and less tedious. When it goes to the farmer end, the ministry is piloting agroforestry and carbon credit system in cashew and mango smallholder farmers. And like the earlier speaker said, in fact, AI is making the work, I'm coordinating that, it's making the work so easy for me. I need not to move from Accra to monitor the individual farmers' field from the various districts. I sit right in the office and can know the total number of plants on the farmers' field. Again, when there is time for data collection, I need not to follow the officers who are collecting the data on the field. I sit in the office. When the data come and it is wrong, I alert you that the data you have sent, it's wrong, and these are the problems. You need to go back and correct it. Without some of this AI, I would have to travel all the way to all these areas. So these are some of the applications that we are currently seeing on the field. AI has made it possible to determine the nutritional status of an area of land. And that can help you to give the proper and application that will solve the problem than blanket application. Director mentioned, Mr. William mentioned the issue of pest and disease. That is one area that's causing a lot of challenge for crop farmers. AI is making it possible for even farmers to be able to detect particular pest and disease issue on their field, and then there is a recommended remedy for that. About a year or so ago, although I didn't know him, I know his entity. We are trying working with them to develop application purposely for cashew farmers, pest and disease surveillance and remedy system for cashew farmers. I've interacted with some of his colleagues in their entity. And I think that is something that with time, it's going to help a lot of us, a lot of the farmers and the country, and it to curtail the blanket application and sometimes unnecessary application of certain substances in order to solve a problem on the field. The AI can give you the exact issue to focus on if you are able to detect that the infection is only localized to a particular area. You need not to go and spray the whole plantation trying to remedy the situation. Thank you.
Thank you. I've actually learned something new from you on what the ministry is doing in relation to application of AI. Maybe I'm sure people will have more questions as time goes on. And Mr. William, we as Fair Forward have worked with Cara Agro actually on a project pest and disease detection on cashew farms. But as a startup, what's informed Cara Agro's focus on agriculture?
Okay, so Cara Agro is it's part of an amalgamation of AI entities. So we have one wing that does healthcare, and one wing that does agro, and then there are other outfits. Now, if you take in our emerging economies, we're not maximizing yield. Why are we not maximizing yield? Number one, processes may not be efficient, but number two, we're losing a lot of crop yield, maybe 30%, to pests and diseases. And then a little chunk also to abiotic issues. And whether it is the vegetative cover, it is the soil, it is, any other influences that reduce crop yield and harvest or increase losses, you want to reduce that. Now, I think that we talk about AI like it's some spirit that solves problems. No. AI can only be maximized if the input is correct. And the more robust and precise input you get, so the better your outcome. If you look at a lot of those in the tech space, even in this room, I would say that maybe 2/3 of the people in this room may be under 45 years. AI starts with data, robust data. And then you interpret and analyze that data, make sense out of it. Then you can use it. Now, when you use it for today, you're maximizing today. But then there's the next level, which is the predictive and machine learning. That almost gives you the future. What would happen in future? And you study a pattern. So my dad, for instance, was one of the pioneers of soil research and crop research over 50 years ago. if we picked all that data all the way till now, and we pick the crop disease pattern, we can see a pattern, and we can almost predict what's going to happen next and be able to, stop it or improve the outcomes. And that's where we think, we came in and looked at what can we do to improve yield, what can we do to cut down losses. But then comes to the middle part of this whole thing, collaboration. Unfortunately, a lot of data sitting is in the wrong format, is sitting in varied places, and you don't have access to harness that data and make sense out of it. So we think that we need a lot more collaboration to pick all the data and harness it, put it in the right format, because then it will give us what to use today and the predictive uses for tomorrow. It can give us patterns. If you go onto your farm field and, like he said, what you can see with the eye today, maybe with all that data aggregation and training the tools to do what they should be doing, you would actually know 2 weeks before or 10 days before and take action. You would also be able to predict a certain pattern. So you can know that when you see this, pests are coming in from that side because it's been happening in the last 10 years. But that collaboration you need, and small startups don't have the power to go around. So you may get your data and do your studies on 5 or 10 cashew fields. What if you could do it on 50 across a much wider region? And then integrate it with all the tools that we need. So drone technology is one that integrated into it. Satellite, data, and we have access to a lot of the data that is out there. The data sets are not primary data from our parts of the world. And that is what Cara Agro is more interested in, developing the primary data sets, because then when you match it with the other existing data, you can make more sense out of it. And so we need a lot of collaboration from the ministry, from Craig, because there are other plants and vegetables that, we need to develop in the agro sector to make us, food sufficient.
Thank you. I'm very glad that a point you mentioned actually resonates with the theme for GDIW, which is collaborate. And I think it's very important. In Ghana, you realize a lot of people are doing very important innovations, but then we are also working in silos. But if we work in silos, I think we can't go far. So another point is about farmers. I know that in Ghana, the ecosystem, we have a lot of small scale farmers. And for us, with the projects we worked on, we actually did a stakeholder engagement, and we went to Bono region and interacted with some farmers. And we had some interesting experience. But how do you feel that farmers are embracing AI? Because yes, we are talking about, in theory, AI helps farmers. It will improve their yield. It will do wonders for them. But in the Ghana ecosystem, how ready do you think farmers are open to embrace this technology? And is it realistic that we can use AI at this stage? I don't know who wants to tackle it first.
The short answer is yes, but the realistic answer is that currently, no. Because let me use, we developed a project, a very nice, interesting project, to develop a plant disease detector for farmers, right? You roll it out, you go around, you gather the data. The farmers themselves use this app and then gather the data sets and then, of course, make inferences from it. But once you leave, once everything dies down, it is like, oh, look, I thought you were doing your project. That's why I was helping you to use it, right? that is the mindset, but it needs to change, as it has been elucidated here. We have to leverage technology and data to maximize our yield. And probably it could be that the farmers are not uptaking this technology because maybe we sit in our labs and do not co-develop it with them. That could be an issue, right? And then maybe most of them were born before computer, BBC, so that could also be a problem. But I think that there are prospects, right? And with training and collaboration and with some of this engagement, we can improve on some of these processes. But I think that there are prospects there, but currently there's a lot to be done. Yes.
Thank you, Doc. Actually, that has been the problem. It has been a challenge over the years. So with us at Farmerline, what we decided to do is to bridge the gap. Of course, if you look at the demographics, majority of these farmers are older. Not many young people are farmers. Even though now I'm seeing a change, it appears a lot of young people are embracing farming now. They are beginning to understand that farming is wealth. However, for us to be able to solve that problem, we introduced the agents system where we have agents who have been trained to constantly interact with the farmers. That way, the gap which Doctor was talking about, the lag doesn't come, and then the farmers relapse. It's one way we decided to solve that problem. It's true. Most of the farmers, the literacy levels are not as high. I've observed that the adoption of AI comes with a level. Those who are literate to some level, it's easy to adopt the AI thingy. So that appears to be the case with most farmers. And so, but there are AI startups and business agri-tech companies that are trying to introduce a way to help farmers interact with AI systems. I know there are some companies that have designed apps that farmers can call, and the AI is giving them the feedback, collect the input, and does the background thing, and then give them a feedback. That is exposing the farmers to the results of AI works behind the scene. However, that natural, automatic, that the farmer would reach out to be able to interact, the way a young person would take a smartphone and check the weather, that may not happen. But I think that with a lot of young people having interest in farming, that would make it very easy for adoption of AI in agriculture on a very large scale. Thank you.
Okay, sorry, just before you give it to Jerry, so are you saying there's no hope for the old?
Well, well, not that there's no hope. There's hope, actually. As I said, there are a lot of companies that are building a system. Some are mobile, that farmers can call and ask questions. Okay, I want to know about the weather. I want to know about this and that. And then the system behind the scene is actually AI-powered. That gives feedbacks to these farmers. So even though you do not see on the surface that it is an AI interaction thing as we should expect, most of the farmers are receiving or they are feeding on the outputs of these AI systems, a bit in a way that is a bit not open like we should expect. Yeah.
Thank you.
Just a quick, as with relative to the hope for the elderly, right, the older ones, what we've seen is that the old farmers have indigenous knowledge, which they very much trust. So if they benchmark their indigenous knowledge with the AI solutions that we develop, and the performance seems to be at par or AI is better, that is where the uptake. I mean, these are some of the lessons that we've seen so far. So there is hope, actually, as he said.
Thank you very much. I think with the issue with adoption of any technology by our farmers, the issue is the approach. From experience, if you try to send any technology to the farmers and you go and try to maybe demonstrate it to them yourself, they see it as yours. They see it as yours. When you go, they will call you and ask you and tell you that your demonstration is witty. But right from the beginning, when you involve them, they see it as their own. Or you may be the expert, but when you get to the community, look for any of the lead farmer who has the knowledge, let the farmer lead in demonstrating or executing that within their midst. They see the farmer as one of them, or the lead farmer from the community as one of them. But me from Accra, moving all the way to Sewa and telling the farmer, who is my father or my grandfather, that this is better for you. You see me as I don't know what I'm talking about. Let me give a critical example. We were given a technology on farm management on cashew at Bandar Kwanta. When we got there, the farmer's field was in serious, like we call it a forest, not a plantation. We attempted to thin, prune, and manage for the farmer. The farmer said, we dare not touch his plant. So we left, we went to get one of the lead farmers in the community, and we went with him. Then the lead farmer explained to him how we manage his farm and what he has gotten, and promised him that we should divide the farm into two. We will do the practice that we are recommending on half and leave half for him. They will all manage the two farms. At the end of the season, we will all come together and compare the yield. If the one we managed didn't go well, we are prepared to pay him whatever yield he got the previous year. He agreed. So we applied the treatment that we recommended on half, and then we left. 2 months later, and unfortunately for us, we wanted to use that farm as a demonstration for the whole community. Unfortunately for us, some of the service providers that we used that day were from that town. So when we went back 2 months later, we noticed that the other half has been done exactly as what we did. So we went to look for the farmer and asked, farmer, we said, we are managing these two fields to show something. He said, when you left, I noticed that what we did on this one, he didn't say what you did. What we did on this one looks better and nicer than this one. So I went to call the service provider and I continued. So we asked him, we wanted to use this one as a control to show others. He then pointed his friend's farm, which is adjacent his, that we should use that one as the control. We then left. About another 3 months, when we were passing through, we noticed that the friend has done the same thing. So you see, so when we came back, we complained to our boss that the man has spoiled our demonstration. The only question my boss asked me was that, what is the objective of the demonstration? We said to enhance adoption. They said, if you are not done and they have adopted, what is your problem?
No, the slightly different angle I would like to come from is, let's not rule out the fact that, these farmers are of the old school, so they can't adopt technology. Okay, and I'll use my father again as an example. He retired before internet and before we all got onto computers and smartphones. And when he retired and came back to Ghana, he was buying his usual newspaper. Years later, I said, oh, your newspaper boy never comes here again. He said, no, by 6:37, he's read all the news on his computer and his mobile phone, and he was in his 80s. He doesn't buy a physical newspaper anymore. So they can adopt. It is using that demonstration and letting them sort of understand the value. And when they adopt, they will teach their peers. But I'm surprised that coming from Ministry of Food and Agriculture, you didn't mention extension officers. Because I think that they are one of our biggest tools and conduits in helping to bridge the gap and translate the modern to the old. And, I double hat in healthcare as well, and maybe Ghana Health Service will tell you their biggest impacts have been with the community nurses, not the doctors. The community nurses that go into the marketplace. those who talk to the women from day one when they're pregnant, those who, interact with the chiefs and all that. They go into the households and the families and talk to them. So if we use the same approach and try and bridge the gap between technology and knowledge of the old. But what's also important is that let them feel valued. So listen to them and embrace their knowledge of old, because some of it is very valuable in feeding it into modern technology. And once they know that their input has helped develop the new technology as well, they embrace it,
I don't know if you want to touch a bit on extension officers and how they are being equipped or not to help farmers.
Yeah.
To even understand
In fact, the extension officers, as you mentioned, are the people who are doing the work on the ground because they live with the farmers. But when it comes to technology transfer, they see the extension officer as Mufa. They don't care whether you are from Accra or you are from them. So, over the years, we have noticed that our farmers are slow to adoption. Then there come a study, and from the study, you will notice that the approach must be changed. So now, although the officers are with them in their various communities, when it comes to some of the technology transferred, we use the lead farmers. Yes, we use the lead farmers. So the officer will pass on all the necessary information to the lead farmer and monitor the lead farmer to deliver. So that is the approach that we are using now. And we are seeing the rise in the adoption rate as opposed to putting the farmers in the classroom and telling them this is better, this is better. They want to see the value, like the earlier speaker said. And they want to be part of it, to own it, to know that it works.
Thank you so much. I don't think we have a lot of time, and we didn't intend this session to just be panelists talking. So we know there are people here who have experience in the agric space as well. So we'll just open up for questions, reactions, contribution, experiences, and then we wrap.
Thank you very much. My name is Malik Majunirera. I'm an environmentalist. I just want... Sorry, I wanted to beat time. So my name is Malik Majno Herrera. I'm an environmentalist. My concern has to do with how we are jumping from hoe and cutlass or traditional farming to AI, forgetting that there is a gap, which is the mechanization. What are we doing so that as we are moving gradually, we will not leave out mechanization? Because even those who are developed countries, they didn't leave out mechanization. So I think we should look at that aspect critically so that we will not miss some of the steps to enhancing food security in this country. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Vivian. I'm a farm administrator for a greenhouse sector, a private-owned company. And I would like to know if there are some of these AI apps available for the public to use. Because where I'm working, we are having issues with pests and diseases. And over time, we are trying different things, but we are not getting the kind of results we are expecting. So I wanted to know if some of these AI apps or programs are available for the layman to have access to. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Jonathan. Mine has to do with the farmers using the applications or software. So the people creating the AIs, I think you should consider user interface design. So because they are not technocrats, they may find it difficult to use some of this technology. So if you put yourselves in their shoes and you design the technology in a way that they can use it, a layman can use it, I think it will work. Yeah, that's a little.
Okay, so I'll take the one on the mechanization. Actually, we've not lost sight of it as a lab. Currently, we have a knowledge transfer partnership grant with a mechanization startup company, a cocoa treasure. How do we make it intelligent, right? This is funded by FCDO. So, you see, as I said, it is in this ecosystem, it's a combination of its parts. So mechanization is key. The data aspect of it, that is the AI, data-driven interventions, are also key. So we've not left anyone behind. Yeah.
China is now having a Gary processing machine that Ghana doesn't have. That is the angle I want you people to remember. Yeah. And that they have simple technology to dry cocoa that Ghana doesn't have. Yeah. So if we are talking about AI, let's also look at that angle at a faster rate so that we will not be left out. Because if a Chinese now is bringing you processed Gary packaged well for you, a Ghanaian, to buy at a cheaper price, you will complain.
I agree. That is how come our interventions are also focused towards that side, right? So I agree with you.
Thank you, Doc. So with Farmerline, what we do to help in that area is to support farm groups with finance to be able to access machines, threshers and harvesters. Because, the cost of these are very high and most farmers will not be able to finance this. So when they are farm groups, we are able to support them and they can get those and they can get the services that the mechanization or whatever help them with. Yeah, so that's how we address the same issue. And gentlemen talk about UI or UX. It appears majority of our farmers do not use smartphone. I'm sure most of you would have realized that most of them use the YAM. And, pardon? All right, so USSD. So for us, for example, we use 399. That's farmers can dial. You can dial it. And there's an agent on the line that would help you, give you the information you need, whether it's information on prices of commodity or seed. There's always someone there to warn you that. And other times, too, you could enter code, and there's an interactive system that will be giving you information. But the idea is that we want to be patient with the rate of adoption that our farmers have. We shouldn't rush it with them. And we should understand the dynamics that goes around with their generation so that it is gentle, it is gradual, so that we can get majority of them to, as much as possible, derive the best from what AI has to offer. Thank you.
First of all, I think on the first speaker's question, I think we need to separate the uses of, tools versus the diagnostics and the information. So Ho and Cutlass, AI is not going to dig your farm for you. So that is a totally separate subject of, the tools in agriculture and the transfer from Ho and Cutlass to mechanization, etc. Because whether you're using the latest combined harvester or you're using a Gary processing machine or a cocoa drying machine, that doesn't replace the fact that pests can affect the cocoa before you get there. So AI is solving a completely separate bit from the tools needed in agriculture. Let's separate the two. The other bit in terms of the adoption, and I think we need to, accept the fact that a lot of these solutions are pilot. And a lot of collaboration and investment is needed to scale up to commercialize these, and if we don't have that support to scale up, to commercialize it, and the more you scale up to commercialize it, the more the usage cost per unit or per individual goes down. So that's the next level. Once you invent the tools and the technology and all that, and you test and you know it works, if a whole setup is just going to provide a solution for you, it's very expensive, because the computing cost in some of these development alone is so astronomical that, that is why a lot of them need grants. And, thanks to people like GIZ and other partners. But otherwise, if we all help to commercialize this and scale up, then it now becomes readily available. And then tools also, in terms of tools that are friendly for farmers to use, also then can be, widespread, and then we can actually move agriculture to a different level.
Thank you. We'll take another round of questions or contributions. So there's one. Okay.
Please, my name is Samuel from Blossom Academy. My question goes straight to Mr. Jerry from the ministries. Mr. William talks about the cost of coming up with AI technologies. I just want to find out that if you look at precision agriculture, which is actually on the rise, and currently looking at in terms of dealing with food security, I'm trying to find out how best is the ministry doing to support startups or companies that are trying to come up with AI solutions in the area of disease detection, weather pattern prediction in the use of data. Thank you.
We'll take two more before they react. There's a hand here, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Joseph, the CEO of My Fooder Space. We are embracing AI from every aspect, but I want to ask one question. Are we regulating it? Because if I develop an AI for a farmer, the farmer is so happy to embrace it. Does the farmer knows where his data is going? Who is controlling that data? Please, I think we should have a body to regulate the AI.
Okay. Thank you. And a final.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Lav Kumar. I come from IIT, Nigeria. Thanks a lot for sharing very important thoughts on AI use in agriculture. My question is about the comment made by William on the sustainability of AI tools. It's very important that you made a very important point on that most of the AI are pilots, because it shows the technology. We can create technologies that are relevant to Ghana context, but how to make it sustainable? And is there a scope for monetization? Because without monetization, it is difficult for private entities to stay in the business. Where do you see the areas where AI, which are relevant for smallholder farmers, and at the same time it can generate sufficient revenue for companies who are investing in AI tool generation, can stay on with the innovative cycle? Because AI is only relevant as the data it comes and processing, because it's a dynamic field. So I like to hear your reflections. I know it's a complicated question, because most of our farmers, we are discussing about their capacity to use AI, and at the same time we are also thinking how farmers can pay for it so that the innovation cycle can continue. So thank you.
Let me start from the data, the one who asked about the data. For now, in Ghana now, there is a law on data and data management. It's called the Data Protection Act. The act specifies clearly how data currently in Ghana should be collected, where the data should be hosted. Per that act, I think it came about 3 years ago, no primary data of Ghanaian individual and businesses is supposed to be hosted outside the jurisdiction of the country. And the act, now the Ghana Data Center house all primary data from the country. And I think Minister of yes, there is a commission, Data Protection Commission, and NCA are fully in charge. Now, even if I have a primary farmer data and another entity which is not in the jurisdiction of the country want it, I need to get clearance from the Minister for Communication before that data can be handed over to the person. So now, with the issue of the data, it's safe. There was a question on support for startup. Yes, even though we all know that when it comes to finances for as a country, we don't have much. But the ministry, through the Savannah Agricultural Productivity Improvement Project, has supported some startups in the area of AI and its implementation. Some got varied equipment, AI equipment, some got drones for surveillance, other things. Also, the ministry also gets support from some partners and donors. This year, I can see that there were about 4 startup entities that got grant in terms of grant and equipment. That's through the ministry and its partners, they were supported with that. So as and when we are able to get projects or support from other partners, we ensure that entities who has interest in this field are supported.
I relate to the question on the support for startups. I know of this company. I don't know if I should say company. On paper, they are a company. Startup ecosystem is very tough, especially for the young innovators. They were tracking animals, right? And then to know their mobility, their health, and all those things. About 3 years ago, I was in touch with them, doing research with them. Then last year, there about December, I called and then found out how far can we extend the work. He says, nah, now he's using his technology to track us. It's no longer it's no longer in the animal tracking business. But this is how the government or regulatory bodies can help this person. If, for instance, there were very good regulatory frameworks to force or maybe ensure that nomadic cattle herders were using his solution, then he would have stayed in business. So we always say, very good regulatory frameworks, we need that, but this is it in action. And now my guy is tracking cars. Maybe if you buy your car, I will link you up with them. But this is the sad reality, right? Yeah.
Thank you. It comes back to, as William said, collaboration, right? Government, private entities, the agri-tech companies, it's better, it's a win-win if we collaborate. Because at the end of the day, government becomes the boss, in quotes, because essentially most of the regulation, as Doctor said, it gets to a point where the startup will need the help from government. Creating an enabling environment, that will help startups to also give it the best. And enabling, making the environment, should I say safe, so that there's a direct foreign investment. This essentially helps startups. I think that most startups rely heavily on investor supports, which is primarily how they fund themselves. So a kind of partnership between government and the agri-tech companies will go a long way to help in the agri space. Thank you.
I think with regard to that, there is one challenge that I see there that sometimes it's not helping all of us, both the private and then the public. There are some of the entities, they will start operating. The relevant state agencies may not be aware of them. And in such circumstance, it may get to a point you say you need help, but the relevant government institutions did not know about that organization. So that help cannot, and it applies to one entity. All of a sudden, there was a letter came from the minister referred to me that I should advise. When I look at the entity, and they said they are working in the cashew space for the past 5 years. I'm coordinating cashew activities for the ministry. I've never heard their name before. So in such instance, what advice do you think I'll give to the minister? So this is just an example. So it would be good if you are an entity, you are working in a space, can not just write to the relevant state institutions, introducing yourself. If any such thing come or there is a support for entities within your area, I can quickly recommend. So this is just for all of us to work, collaborate so that we can support each other.
On that note, I think let's be very, very uncomfortably candid with ourselves. Approaching the relevant state institutions is a nightmare. Let's be honest. That's number one. Number two, even when you get there, the red tape. Oh, your letter is in the system. Oh, director has to minute it and then send it to minister, and then deputy minister will minute it and send it to this, and then it has to go to parliament, and by the time you finish, you're an old man. No, that's number one. Number two, we find this nice conference going on here. And when I came, I was amazed at the technology on display. Where are the relevant state institutions to interact and see how we can use this to grow the economy? Because this is potential money sitting here. And after 3 days of conferencing and this thing, we'll wait for next year. And we'll say the same thing again. I fly into one African country, I won't mention the name. And in 48 hours, I see half a dozen directors and heads of government institutions and so on. Formally, informally, one will call you, oh, you're just here till tomorrow. Okay, you have one more day left. Let me call my colleague from Ministry of this, and he will have drinks with you and you can discuss. Things need to happen. Because, look, there's money sitting out there. Microprocessors alone give South Korea $80 billion a year. Just microprocessors. One tech industry. 80 billion is bigger than the entire economy of Ghana. Microprocessors. Small Denmark has probably more robotic companies than we probably have lotto kiosks or betting. Or churches.
I think maybe we should have requested for more time to delve this into details, but it's time. I'm being notified that it's time, but I think it has been an insightful session. I tried to write some notes, but I think my main takeaways, or some of the takeaways, I am taking away. Wow. Some of my takeaways are the approach we use with working with farmers because of the ecosystem we are in. We have to be very strategic about how we let farmers embrace the technology we feel will help the ecosystem. And then there has been the talk of collaboration a lot in this conversation, but I think it's more of an encouragement for us. I think communication, personally, I feel like communication is a very big challenge in Ghana, but this is also an admonishment for all of us to open up, no matter the bottlenecks that you may face. Sometimes try to also open up and talk to people about what you are working on, and try and push for more collaboration, because that is surely the only way we can move forward. I would also want to maybe talk to Mr. Jerry or encourage the government to try and also be more open to engage with innovators, share information, because you actually mentioned a lot of things that I personally am not even aware is going on. So thank you so much. Afterwards, we can also engage more, make some connection, and thank you for your participation.